So now, now we're going to talk about sex. I don't think we've mentioned it yet. No enthusiasm for it. All right then. We'll just talk about it. When I was a kid, I went to Dublin. I was 17 years of age, and I was in a digs. And that was at a time when people, even grown-ups, wouldn't use the word sex. They'd spell it. Sort of, they mimed the word. But anyway, sex is a very intriguing thing, and the way it's dealt with. I mean, there was a time when, if there was, say, back when we had three newspapers, you had the Irish Press, the Irish Times, the Independent. Suppose there was a raid on a brothel, which there would be now and again. The Irish Times would carry maybe 4 lines, the Irish Independent would carry 2, the press would ignore it, and so on. The Examiner wouldn't even have heard of it, but that's neither here nor there, because they were probably in there. But anyway, the thing is that nowadays it's plastered all over. There are so many papers, so many periodicals, and so many tabloids and so on, that everything has to be covered. And there was a raid on a brothel in Dublin fairly recently, and there was a big hall, a number of ladies trotted before the judge. No men. It always intrigues me that a brothel can operate without any men customers. Only ladies, you know. Well, anyway, let's say. Anyway, there they are, they're all lined up, and they've been asked, each one in turn, and what is your occupation? And naturally, said, I'm a secretary. And then the next one, and the judge is listening to all this and get very bored. And what is your occupation? I'm an escort. I'm a model, and so on. And it goes on, and the judge gets more and more bored, and saying, I'm a typist, and so on. And then the last woman comes up, and she's considerably older than all the others, and the judge says, yes, madam, and what is your occupation? Are you an escort or a model? No, Your Honour, I'm just a plain old-fashioned whore. He said, pleased to meet you, ma'am. How's business? Can't complain, Your Honour. Fair play to your own crowd, you never let us down. So anyway, the other thing about the sex, of course, is that there was a man in my own part of the world, and he suddenly startled his family, his wife and all that, by saying, I'm leaving, I can't stand it anymore, I've had enough of it, I can't take it, I'm leaving, I'm emigrating, I couldn't stick anymore. I said, what's the matter, what is it? He said, it's the homosexuality. I said, but you're not gay. Indeed, I am not gay. But he said, when I was a young fella, that was a sin. Didn't they made it legal? Now it is the in thing. And I'm hauling my arse out of here before it's compulsory. And so on, you see, but anyway, now, I went to Mass recently in our own church, and this was a church, a very, very big church, which at one time would have been packed, and now, unfortunately, like all other churches, it's sort of denuded. You have a very scattered and very sort of sparse congregation of a certain age, as they say. Anybody with hair has either white hair or grey hair, or a wig. Most people have walking sticks. They all wear glasses. Some have hearing aids. Some have Zimmer frames. And you get the picture anyway, and they're scattered all throughout this church. And recently we had the distinction of being selected to get a visit from a priest who came back after, as he told us, after 34 years in Australia. He was back in Ireland. And he was obviously under the impression that he had come back to the same country that he had left 34 years ago, because he gave a long and, frankly, not very interesting sermon on the subject of sex outside marriage. To this assembly of wigs, glasses, walking sticks, Zimmer frames, hearing aids, and what have you. And when I was leaving the church, I heard one woman say to another, "Where did they dig him out of?" Sex outside marriage. And where else are we supposed to get it? Which is a fair question, but there you are. Anyway, now we have various other subjects to cover. But while we're on the subject of sex and so on, I was at there's a proliferation of blue movies and everything now. There was a time when, people used to have to sort of hide around corners. Now there's porn and all this sort of stuff and everywhere, all over the place. But at the same time, I was at a movie, a very hot movie, if you like, and I just illustrate this to show that it is very, very difficult sometimes to predict the reaction of middle-aged ladies to certain circumstances or situations, because this film had a scene in it where a couple come into a room and they close the door behind them and she kicks off a shoe and he kicks off a shoe, and then she sort of drops her cloak and he drops his jacket and so on, and then his tie goes over the back of the couch, and then there's a sort of something else discarded. The blouse is discarded, and then they sort of moving up the corridor towards the bedroom, and she discards a bra. And as a tie goes over his shoulder and another shoe gets kicked off, and then there's a knickers on the floor, and they go on and they're discarding all these. And finally, there's this strewn underwear all leading up to the bedroom door. They go through the bedroom door and the door closes. And this woman's voice rings out, "Oh, that's right, throw them there for someone else to pick them up."